This is for all you new biz development guys working at production companies. I'm going to show you how to find the absolute hottest accounts for production work. Inside Media Black Book, you want to go to the Monitoring tab to pull up the monitoring search engine. There are 3 timelines that you can search in here: the pre-release timeline, the release timeline, and the forecast. The pre-release time is everything that is not yet in the market. The release time is everything that has hit the market, and obviously forecast is what we are projecting. This tends to be the biggest accounts in the system. You need to have a certain amount of data in order for Media Black Book to create a forecast. Most people are going to want to use pre-release because this is going to give you the biggest number of search results in any given month. In order to pick a date range, just click on these little boxes down here. You can go back and select whatever you like. I'm going to go back 1 month. Below that, you'll find all the different activities that Media Black Book tracks. Now, when it comes to production companies, I highly recommend that you take a close look at tracking new brands and new products. Typically, companies that show up that have these items in development, I've seen examples where Media Black Book detects it and it doesn't hit the market until about 8 or so months later. And that's really perfect because it gives you enough time to get into the account, to network, to build the connections that are necessary to actually do the production work. That's a really an ideal timeline. If you want to be a little bit closer to the campaign, you could always go for a suspected ad campaign. I don't recommend this one as much for production companies just because in my experience when these things come through, and by the way, what this is looking for are the system is detecting what it believes to be advertising campaign slogans and taglines. And when they come through, I have noticed that they typically tend to hit the market pretty quick, only a few month turnaround. It's all dependent on the account. Some of these may be slower. I'm not saying don't look at it, but in general, I think you're probably better off with new brands and new products because these are pretty proven to have larger timelines, which means you have more opportunity to get in. So that being said, we're going to keep these turned on. Now, it's a lot easier to sell video production services to people who already have a history of buying it. This one I'm pretty staunch on. I used to be a director of photography in another life. I know what it's like to get work. And let me tell you, trying to talk to people who've never done any kind of video production work, you're in the position of having to sell them on, like the whole concept of doing it in the first place, much less advertising in general. It's way easier to just talk to people that already have a history of buying these services. So to find those people, you just want to come under agency details. And you can do a couple of different things here. You could just be generic and say, hey, they have a history of using external agencies, or you get a lot more specific and say they have a history of working with agencies that offer film and video. Okay, or maybe let's expand it a little, include animation as well. So let's go ahead and run a search and see what we get. 677, not bad. In my experience, the cool work tends to be CPG, particularly food and bev. So why don't we get a little bit more specific on the industry side of things? And why don't we select food, light beverages, alcohol. Let's see what that brings us. Okay, we got 88, not bad. Now, one thing I will point out about the search results here is the activity score is basically ranking the accounts by the amount of activity that is discovered in the system within the time period you've selected for the search. Okay, so generally speaking, the bigger the number, the better. There's more stuff going on in the account. That's not always a hard rule. I have seen some really big spenders that have like a really low score, but when you go in and you look at the activity details, it immediately leaps out to you that they're planning a big campaign. So it's not like a complete, solid rule, but this will help you gauge, the most active accounts. Now, to see what's going on inside an account, you just click on it, and then you want to go over to the Activity tab. And in this case, for Monster Energy, we do have a forecast. It looks like they turn things around pretty quickly, a couple of months. use the little slider here, you can zoom in on the pre-release timeline, and you'll see that they've got a few things going on here. Voodoo Grape, Orange Fury, Mango Mayhem. These are probably new branded flavors that they're going to be putting out. Shockingly Smooth, that the system is detecting that as expected ad campaign slogan or tagline. A lot of stuff going on, man. Not bad. And you see that big spike. I would definitely take a look into this one. Now, as far as how you take action on this, it depends on how your company sells. If you sell to other agencies, you may want to consider coming over to the agencies tab and selecting all of their partners and then launching them into an agency search. You're basically going to turn them into like a filter group where that search engine will only look at these particular agencies you're putting into it. So right now you'll see we've imported 69 agencies. What I would recommend if you sell to agencies is loading them in and then coming down into the services section here. And what you would want to do is say, hey, I want them to be a creative agency. And then you can come down into media formats and say, I want to make sure that they do not offer video. And let's see, where's animations in here? Maybe I'm missing it. Well, anyways, we're going to just do video. Oh, I know what I'm doing. Yeah, these are media formats. Okay. I'm picking the wrong one here. Let me turn this one off. They come up into creative services. Here we go. This is the one. We want to make sure that they do not offer animation or film and video services. So we'll just say all of these. All right, let's see what comes back. We've got 11 agencies that they have worked with that are primarily creative, or they offer creative services, and we don't have any data suggesting that they offer film or video, which means you could reach out and be a partner. In which case you could just select all of these. And again, you can transfer these accounts into another search engine as a filter group. In this case, it'd be the agency contacts search engine. And then you can start looking for whatever titles you want. You're probably looking for somebody higher up in the agency, like a founder, co-founder, president, that kind of thing. So that's one way you could approach it. If you want to go directly after the companies themselves, you could just come back to this list here in the search engine for the monitoring search, select all the advertisers themselves, and then just go ahead and load them into the company contact search and then filter down by job title there and export a list.